Edward Kostrya's favorite birthday cake is comprised of a yellow cake with chocolate frosting and orange filling. So utterly delicious. When we were growing up at 86 Elm Place, every August 21st was my dad's birthday, and we baked him his favorite cake, the Edward Kostrya yellow cake. I'm going to show you how to make this very, very old-fashioned but very good birthday cake. So 8-inch pans, 2 inches high, and we want to cut parchment rounds that'll fit right in the bottom of the pan. To do this, just take a single sheet of parchment like this, fold it in half, and trace around the bottom of the pan. And just cut these rounds out. I've already done that so that you don't have to watch me paper cut. So here's 2. And then you want to butter your cake pans well with softened butter and a brush. My mom always used a piece of waxed paper and softened butter to butter her pans. I don't remember ever seeing a pastry brush in our house when I was growing up, so maybe that's why. Now you can just put your round right in the bottom. This will enable you to get the cake out with no trouble whatsoever. Now butter the paper. Do this to both layers. Oh, and the other thing that you do before you start your batter is turn the oven on to the correct temperature. This cake calls for a 350-degree preheated oven. Okay, so now we want to do a light flouring. Just put a little flour, a tablespoon or so in your pan. Just turn and knock off the excess into your next pan. There, see? Very well buttered. Okay, so now we start, sift our dry ingredients. So we want 1.5 cups of cake flour. So that's 1 cup and a half. And we need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. 1 cup and a half. And 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Make sure your baking powder is fresh. Whatever kind of leavening you use should be fresh and tested. And it's a good idea to not leave your baking powder uncovered. Cover it as soon as you use it. And 1 teaspoon of salt. And just sift your dry ingredients. Now, we have butter, 2 sticks of butter that are soft, room temperature, and we're going to cream the butter with 1 3/4 cups of sugar. And to that, we're going to add, as soon as this is creamy, we're going to add 4 whole eggs. Out of the shell, of course. Some people would think whole egg, you just drop that in. No, take the egg out of the shell. Growing up in a family of 6 kids with a very active kitchen, we really didn't have any money to go eat out. There wasn't really fast food at that time, so we cooked everything. We're now going to add our eggs 1 at a time. Beat well after each egg is added, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 1 1/4 cups of milk at room temperature. When you're baking a cake like this, just like when you're baking pound cakes, everything should be at room temperature, including the milk. Okay, this looks really good. And now it's time to add the flour and the milk, and your batter's done. It's so easy to make a cake. Take a big spoon like that, and we're just gonna add the flour. A little bit at a time, and a little bit of the milk. You want everything to be well incorporated, but you do not want to mix too much. A little bit more milk, and the last bit of flour. The elusive last bits. We'll scrape the beater. Now fill your pans. Put an equal amount. One way you can do that is to use a scale to measure out the batter, or eyeball it. So this is going straight in the oven. Set your timer, and this cake should bake for 30 minutes. And now for the filling for my father's birthday cake. We're making an orange curd. It's so delicious. It's nice and thick. It's made with fresh juices and lots of fresh egg yolks, 12 egg yolks. And right into the same pan, we're going to add the sugar, 1.5 cups of sugar, the zest of 2 oranges, and so the zest goes right into the bowl, and we have 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed orange juice, and we have 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Stir this together, and it already looks orangey and delicious. And you're going to cook over medium-low heat, stirring constantly with a wooden spoon. Do not walk away from the curd. You never leave the egg yolks on the stove to curdle. Get this started. I have a flame right here, medium-low. The orange goes very nicely with the chocolate. It's kind of a traditional pairing, and my dad loved it. Okay, these have thickened. You can see how the wooden spoon is getting coated. Look. And now it's time to take this off the heat and add the butter little by little. So here you have this rich orange curd about to be. The butter, because it's cold, is starting to cool down the curd. Now, if you want a really smooth curd, you can strain this. My dad loved the orange peel. We never strained it. This will stay in the refrigerator for, up to a week or a week and a half. And we have one that's already chilled. So now the cake layers are finished. They look very, very good. And I want to show you how I slice these in half. I've come up with a method that works very, very well. Using a 1/4 sheet for this size cake, I would like to first take off that uneven little crown of the cake. There, that looks good. And now watch, this is so great. See, the blade is resting on both sides of the pan. And you have a very nice layer of cake here, and a very nice layer of cake here. So good. And do the same thing with the other layer. Here is our orange curd, and you want about 1/2 cup of orange curd between each layer. So you're going to have a leftover curd. Oh, doesn't that look good? Very luscious. And leave about 1 inch, because the weight of the cake is definitely going to push this curd to the edge. So easy. And then put one of your layers right on top of that. Another 1/2 cup of curd. I'm going to use the other layer like this. Added bonus. And now this one goes right on top. There we have it. Now, to make sure that this stays secure in the refrigerator while it chills, insert 3 bamboo skewers into the cake like this. These, of course, will be removed after the cake is chilled. So it's very easy and very neat, and you will have a delicious birthday cake. Now, this is an old-fashioned chocolate frosting. In fact, my mom made recipes like this. You need 1 pound of semi-sweet chocolate, and I found that the serrated knife is by far the easiest way to break the chocolate into small pieces for melting. And we need 1 pound, and now we're going to add little by little 2 2/3 cups of whipping cream that's been brought to a boil. The finer that it is chopped, the quicker it melts. And to keep it a little bit soft, add 1 teaspoon of corn syrup, just a teaspoon. And I'm going to now switch over to a whisk because we don't want any lumps whatsoever. You can see it's shiny, it's glossy. Let this cool for about 10 minutes. You can then set it over a bowl of iced water. And we have one that's already chilled, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's our ganache once it's chilled. It's thin and lustrous, and we're going to just spoon a little bit on top of the cake, and we're going to do a crumb coating. What a crumb coating does is cover the crumbs, cover any nooks and crannies. And we have one cake that's already been crumb coated and chilled, and it's on a stand that was just like the stand that we used for my father's cakes. To not get your final cake stand messy, you use these little strips of parchment paper underneath your cake. When you're done, you just pull those out and no mess. Oh, it looks so good. You don't have to do too much. In fact, the less you do, the better. There, I'm gonna leave it just like that. Oh, so pretty. And now, chill this, then pull out the papers, and you have your cake ready to serve right on the final pedestal. There you have it, Edward Kostrya's birthday cake. It's delectable.